Good morning, Facebook. Hello, Facebook. Hello, YouTube. It is what's today's date? Today's the 15th. Friday, January 15th. Ready for the weekend. It is Martin Luther King weekend. Typically every Martin Luther King weekend, here we do our grand wine tasting, which we're not doing this year because we can't pull it off. But typically for the last 7-8 years, we've done this event called 99 Bottles of Wine on the Bar, where we literally line up 99 bottles of wine on the bar here, and it's like, I don't know, $40 a person, all you can drink, and it is an amazing, amazing event. We can't do it this Martin Luther King weekend because of, obviously, COVID. Social distancing. Hopefully next year, we'll be able to get back to that event. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Albie. Good morning, everybody who's tuning on. I'm going to talk about the dirtiest produce today. I mean the dirtiest produce. I'm going to be talking about the produce that has the most chemical contaminations on them, the most residues, the most chemical intensively grown crops. A lot of people want to avoid. See, the dilemma is a lot of people want to avoid chemicals in their food, but a lot of people don't want to pay the organic prices for a lot of the organic stuff. So it's one of those things like, wow, yeah, I'd love to be able to buy and avoid the chemicals, but look at those strawberries compared to the other strawberries. They're 4 times the price or 3 times the price. This one time won't hurt, or it's not really that bad, and they go to eating inorganic foods and going against what they told themselves to begin with. So I just wanted to go over the Dirty Dozen again. And what prompted it this morning was I'm drinking my green juice here, which is celery in here, and celery is known to be one of the top Dirty Dozen year after year after year. In fact, celery's, I've read many things, celery's one of the worst inorganic, non-organic produce to buy because it has up to 67 different, it can have up to 67 different residues of chemicals on it, and because of the way celery's grown, it's very thin-skinned, and those chemicals can get into the celery. So celery's the one thing that we've always bought organic. Here, I don't talk about some of the things we always buy organic. I sent away a case of pears the other day because they weren't organic. They were supposed to be, and the new batch that came in today, all organic. So let's talk about the Environmental Working Group, EWG. EWG.org puts out a list every year, the top Dirty Dozen. Then they put out a full list of like 50 things that you kind of want to avoid. And typically these are in order of significance, or in order of the most, the number one being the worst. So here we go. Number one on the list from the Environmental Working Group is strawberries. Strawberries are top of the list. We always buy organic strawberries. In our grocery store right now, we have organic strawberries. They're very expensive, but it's one of those things that we typically don't waver on. We don't waver on a lot of these things. Strawberries is the one thing we do not waver on. A case just came in now, and the price is dropping, but when I say dropping, last week we paid $75 a case for strawberries. Organic strawberries. If you go and buy conventional strawberries, they're probably $24, $25 a case for the same pack. So $75 to $25, literally 3 times the price. So if you go onto our produce list, you'll see organic strawberries are way up there, like $10 a package. That's because that's realistically what they cost. Very, very expensive, but we don't waver on strawberries. Spinach. Spinach is another one. Very intense chemicals are used for spinach. We never use conventional spinach. We only use organic spinach, and we sell a lot of spinach. It's on our list: baby spinach, organic. Kale. Kale is the big one. Kale's always up in the top 3. Organic kale only. Same thing here. When we have kale, it's always organic, or we just don't have it on our menu. All kinds of like stone fruits and fruits, believe it or not, like nectarines. Nectarines came in at number 4. It's the first time I've seen nectarines that high up. Nectarines, of course, apples. Apples and pears. Number 5 and 9 are apples, and number 5 is apples, number 9 is pears. So we always buy either a local sustainable IPM, integrated pest management, or some type of much higher quality apple that's local. And the farm hubs here are great because we can get year-round apples. We're in the Hudson Valley. We can get year-round apples, and the farm hubs have the high quality IPMs, integrated pest management, or practicing organic, or things like that aren't the typical apple you're going to find in the store. So then, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of local apples here. Just because it's local doesn't mean it's a better apple. A lot of apples are sprayed heavily. Even here in the Hudson Valley, they spray apples heavily. But each farm is different. Each producer is different. That's why you can go to the farmer's market and ask what the story is. And make sure when you have any produce that you're washing it really, really good. Food grade hydrogen peroxide is a really good way to wash your produce and kill anything like any harmful bacteria. Wash it really good, rinse it really good to get any kind of residues that are on it off of it. There's organic vegetable sprays you can buy too at the health food store and in the produce sections. Number 6 is grapes. Grapes are made the list. Grapes, peaches. Number 7, cherries. Number 8 is cherries. I love cherries, but cherries are very, very, and again, it's a stone fruit. So peaches, nectarines, cherries, things like that are always very high. Pears. Pears, like I said, number 9. Number 10 is tomatoes. So when you buy a Florida tomato, for every acre of land, it costs them like $2,000 in chemicals to grow like an acre of tomatoes in chemicals. I'm not sure if that's the exact figure. There's a great book out there that I read a couple years ago that really exposes the tomato growers, especially in Florida. Now we know here when we grow tomatoes in the summertime, if you grow tomatoes in your garden, most years they grow like weeds and you can't control them and they just produce tons of tomatoes and they grow, 6 feet tall tomato plants and they just get out of control. Because we have the right soil for tomatoes here. Florida does not have the right soil. It's a very sandy soil in Florida, and tomatoes don't like that, and too much humidity, too much water. Tomatoes were actually from the high deserts of Peru. So the real original wild version of tomatoes are these little tiny tomatoes, can literally get 1 inch of rain a year and produce these amazing tomatoes. And of course, through hybridization, over the last century and more than the last century, we have these commercially produced tomatoes that, as we all know, are like cardboard. And the reason why they're like cardboard is because in Florida, to ship a tomato out, you have to pick them very underripe. So you pick them green, you falsely ripe them with gas, and then you ship them to your destination, gas them, and you have these tomatoes that are terrible. And they get refrigerated and they get mealy, and it's a disaster. But they are also loaded with tons and tons of chemicals. So I did a video on our YouTube page a couple years ago on the disaster of tomatoes, and I just got a letter from the Florida Tomato Board asking me to remove my video because there's damaging information there. There's stuff that's not true there. There's stuff, whatever, that I should consider removing it and getting my facts straight. And I actually got all these facts that were sourced from a very well-known author who had written a book on this and had done this whole investigation on Florida tomatoes. And I just went through his book and referenced his book through there with the facts that or the information I was presented. But of course, they're trying to do damage control. And he did admit, however, while some of your things are correct, there are some of the things you're misleading consumers on. And we would like to clarify that up with you if you would like to talk to somebody from our Florida Tomato Council, whatever tomato council down there, and be willing to redo a video interviewing myself, just to clear up some of the facts, some of the stuff that's not stated properly. So I've gotten that a lot from some of these food councils. And I've gotten calls I've actually gotten attorney letters from people, from companies that I need to take my videos down about them. So some of them get very nervous on some of the stuff I post. I had one guy that was calling me screaming and yelling, You have my product in your video, and that's not what my product is. And so I said to him, I said, well, let me come take a look at, and he was in Connecticut, I said, come, let me take a look at your facility, and I'll redo a video. And I went and looked at his facility, and it was, he tried to present everything. It was like a show, and I'm walking through, I'm like, okay, this is like 50-50. I'm not convinced that he's doing the right thing, but he's willing to show me everything here. And then as we're walking by one thing, he's like, and we buy all the best ingredients, and all of our honey is product of the USA. He's telling me this, before we walk into the storage room. All these are all my products. All my honey comes from the USA. It's all USA honey. We walk in, and I see pallets of 55-gallon, not 55-gallon, the 5-gallon pails of honey. I see a pallet of these, and I look on there, product of China, Argentina, Canada, and or the USA. It lists like 6-7 countries for honey. They're all blended. I'm like, this guy just swore that he was buying 100% American honey to go into his product, and then he shows me a storeroom, and I'm like looking and peeking at ingredients, and that's not what's there. They, even some of these people, even when they invite you in and show you this stuff, they're still not telling the truth. So that's number 10, tomatoes. So we buy these tomatoes right now. We buy, of course, tomatoes that are local in the summertime. Because really every farm stand has them. Everybody has them. It's crazy how you can get how good quality, inexpensive tomatoes you can get locally if they're the right tomatoes. Right now we're buying from Maine, these hothouse tomatoes from Maine. And last year I had a local farmer. It was Marcus. These tomatoes are amazing. He's like, where do you get them? I'm blown away. And so I showed him. He's like, I cannot believe the quality of these tomatoes that are coming from Maine, from a greenhouse. And he was like, this is amazing. So those are the tomatoes we use right now. So they're from a backyard farm in Maine, and really awesome, high quality tomato. Typically they're always available. If I have to substitute in, we'll buy Lucky tomatoes. Lucky tomatoes are a fantastic tomato from Florida, one of the better tomatoes from Florida. There are some people in Florida that are growing organic and doing the right thing, but still you have a lot of humidity and you still have the wrong soil. But Lucky tomatoes, at least they're not. She owns all of her property. She owns the land. Her brother runs the farm. She runs the market here in New York, and it's one of the highest quality Florida tomatoes you can get. And in the summertime, she has an operation up north here where she does the same exact thing, Lucky, and that's her actual name, Lucky. So Lucky Tomatoes, her name is Lucky. I think it's a nickname. Potatoes. Celery is number 11. Celery is number 11, which is why we never put celery on our wings that are here. So if you order our wings, it comes with carrots, because organic celery is so expensive, and I don't want to buy conventional celery. We don't even own conventional celery, so it's organic celery it's on our grocery list. And organic celery last week was through the roof. We were paying over $6 a little tiny head for it. It's dropped significantly this week. Produce just jumps all over the market price wise, because you never know of a frost. Contaminations, once romaine gets contaminated, and I always say, beginning of the winter season of romaine, there's always an E. coli outbreak in November and in May. For some reason, those are the two times, and that's when the season switches to the winter crops in Arizona, with all the agricultural runoff gets into the water supply there. So there was a small E. coli outbreak this year in romaine. Of course, that's not major news, E. coli outbreak in romaine, right? And romaine lettuce. We have other things to worry about, like our election and COVID. So I didn't see any mainstream media covering the E. coli outbreak, but it was in trade journals. I did find it in trade journals, and it just happens twice a year. So this is why it's super important to wash all your produce, wash it with hydrogen peroxide, and rinse it really well. Number 12 on the list is potatoes. Potatoes are number 12 on the list. So, true story, Jamie and I are in Colorado, late 90s, touring the San Luis Valley. Very, very rich in potato and carrot production in the San Luis Valley. This is where the Sand Dunes National Monument is. Alligator farm out there, tilapia farm out there. Really amazing part of Colorado, the San Luis Valley. So if you go inland into the center of the state, in the central Colorado, and if you wanted to drive down from Summit County, like from Keystone, you could drive down into Buena Vista, Leadville, Buena Vista, and then over the mountains in Salida, over the mountain pass, and then you open up to this massive, massive, massive valley. Lots of flat land, big mountains, snow-capped mountains, the Sand Dunes National Monument's there, and you can literally see for miles and miles and miles a straight road, and the whole valley there grows tons of potatoes, tons of carrots, and you can almost see to New Mexico. It's really an amazing stretch of Colorado land. And then Alamos, Colorado. Alamos, Colorado's on the bottom there that connects into Hatch, New Mexico. So spent a lot of time down there when Jamie and I were there, when we lived there. So we're touring a potato farm. We're meeting with farmers and potato farmers and the quinoa farmer that's down there. And we hear a story of the one potato farmer. They tell us that the baking potatoes, so potatoes that make French fries, baking potatoes, the Russell Burbanks and the Dakotas, those oval potatoes, there's those black spots that go inside, those hollow black spots that will go inside those potatoes. To avoid those, they have to spray this really harsh neurological damaging chemical on the land. And they rope the land off the farm and they put the skull and crossbow thing there and say, danger, don't enter. And they're not allowed to by law, like they're not allowed to enter the land for like 7 days because these chemicals are so strong. And the one farmer said, if we lose irrigation, we will not go fix it. We'd rather not fix irrigation. We'd rather lose our crop than to go on the land after these chemicals are sprayed. And I'm like, this is insane. Like this is one of the first stories that really got me like, okay, like we need a better food supply. Like somebody's like, people have got to step up, chefs have got to step up, restaurants have got to step up. We've got to step up and really understand the food that we're serving. And so I said, well, you don't eat your own, well, do you eat potatoes? Well, we don't eat our own potatoes. I said, well, whose potatoes do you eat? Like, what potatoes do you eat? He goes, we eat our neighbors down the road, 10 miles down the road, 5 miles down the road, because he grows organic potatoes. And so I went to this neighbor, went to the neighbor, the News, Pulmonary New, and they grow organic quinoa. They have 500 acres of organic land there. They have a CSA, Community Support Agriculture. They grow a lot of different things. They're the ones who brought quinoa to the U.S., back in the late 70s, and they've grown several hundred varietals of quinoa. So these guys got quinoa down. And potatoes, they grow so many different types of potatoes. They sell gift baskets of potatoes at Christmas time. They ship it all over the country. And you can send like a chef or anybody who's a foodie, literally like a dozen different types of potatoes in a basket. And I'm talking to them and I'm like, well, how do you avoid not spraying this chemical onto the land? And they said, okay, here's the deal, Marcus. The oval potatoes, the ones you bake and the ones you fry, only have this problem. When you grow Yukons, fingerlings, banana potatoes, crescent potatoes, purple potatoes, Peruvians, when you grow all these other types of potatoes, German butterballs, he goes, that problem doesn't happen in those potatoes. You don't need to spray the chemical in those potatoes. He goes, so that's what you do. You just don't grow the Russell Burbanks. If you do grow Russell Burbanks, you've got to make sure you've got to be on top of them. It's a much more intense crop, just like corn is a very intense crop to grow. And I'm surprised corn's not on this list in the top 12. I'm really surprised corn is not on the top list here, but it's not. So from then on, I was like, okay, no more baking potatoes, no more russet Burbanks, no more, if we're going to do potatoes, I'm going to cook potatoes, cook Yukon potatoes, cook fingerlings, cook these other potatoes. And that's just because of the hybridization. Those russet Burbanks are very hybridized. And when you hybridize a plant, you make it weaker. This is why wild blueberries and cultivated blueberries have two totally different antioxidant profiles. Same thing with chocolate. A lot of people don't know this. A lot of even good chocolatiers don't know this. There is a wild chocolate that you can buy that is expensive versus the mass-produced cultivated chocolate. And cultivated chocolate cacao can be organic. It can be no chemicals. It can be certified organic. It can be fair labor and all this and that. But when you look at the nutrition of it, it's different than the tall tree cacao that is not hybridized. Same thing with blueberries. This ridge on the mountain here is loaded with blueberries. You go up to High Point, you go up to the whole ridge here. In the wintertime, it is freezing up there, windy and freezing. If it's 20 degrees down here, it could be -10 at High Point and extremely, extremely windy. Well, because these plants have to survive the natural elements, they have a stronger immune system. The immune system has a direct correlation to the antioxidants in the plant. Bingo. Better immune system, better antioxidants. When you take a plant and hybridize it so it can grow bigger, quicker, more productive, all these kinds of things, you start weakening the genetics of the plant. Thus, you weaken the immune system. Thus, you have to spray more chemicals and you have to baby the plant. It's not the same as growing in the wild. Like you can't kill weeds, right? Like weeds just grow. I mean, it can be a drought and there's weeds growing. You try to go plant some kind of fancy grass in your yard and it's like, oh my gosh, I got to keep watering this and doing that. You plant all these other things, that aren't native and you have to keep on top of them. So Mother Nature planned this out perfectly for everything. So Mother Nature has this figured out. So, wild always has better nutrients. So anytime something's non-hybridized in its original strain, it always has more nutrients. And if it's wheat, it has less gluten. So those are the top 12. I'm going to list off a few others. I'm going to go down and do a speed round on the top others. But to recap, the dirtiest produce out there from the Environmental Working Group, the top 12, the dirty dozen that gets in the print every single year is strawberries, spinach, kale, nectarines, apples, grapes, peaches, cherries, pears, tomatoes, celery, potatoes, top 12. Also on the list, sweet bell peppers, cherry tomatoes, lettuces, cucumbers. Cucumbers are a big one. Blueberries, of course. Chili peppers. I didn't realize chili peppers. I just thought chili peppers, just nothing would go near a chili pepper, like bugs and stuff, because who wants to eat that? But I guess, like birds and stuff. And bugs can eat it. So plums are up there, green beans, tangerines, raspberries, grapefruits, snap peas, winter squashes like butternut squash, carrots, oranges, summer squash like zucchini, bananas, of course, sweet potatoes, watermelons, mangoes, kiwi, honeydew melons, cabbage, mushrooms, broccoli number 37, cantaloupe, cauliflower, asparagus, eggplant, frozen peas, those frozen peas you can buy in the freezer, papayas, onions, pineapple, sweet corn is number 46, and it ends with avocados. Now, avocados, I'll do my next video. One of my next videos, I'll do ones that are sort on the safe side that you don't need to buy organic. Like avocados, I've always read, because it has a thick skin, even if they get sprayed, they're not going to absorb the sprays because of the thick skin. So unlike celery, which has a very thin skin, is going to absorb everything. So sometimes the skin has a correlation of how contaminated the actual produce is. So EWG.org, folks, if you want more information, Environmental Working Group, EWG.org. They've been doing this for years. I remember 20 years ago reading this list, the Dirty Dozen. So they do some great work, EWG, Environmental Working Group. Let's see. This weekend, we are finishing off our ribeye special, selling a ton of ribeyes every night. $9.99 to go. That's it. $9.99 to go. Tonight, tomorrow night, we open at 5 o'clock today, 3 o'clock tomorrow, 3 o'clock on Sunday. As always, everybody, thank you for your support. We really, really appreciate it. You keep supporting us, and we'll keep doing the right thing and buying lots of local, buying lots of organic. Now is the time more than ever to buy local, to buy independently produced. Amazon does not need our money. None of these people, none of these big companies, need our money. It's the independents that need our money. It's people that are doing things right. I'm a runner, as most of you know, because I talk about running all the time, which I'm going to go out and run after this. You can buy running shoes really cheap online, and sometimes I do buy running shoes online, but I've been going to Frank the Shoe Fitter in Middletown for years. For years I've been going to Frank. When I was having issues back in 2000, 2001, I was having issues running. And I was going to Dick's and wherever, Modell's, and buying running shoes and then this is when I started running. This is like in the very beginning of my running career, my running habit. And I got knee pains, really bad knee pains. Both knees. After 3 miles, I got knee pains. So somebody told me, I think my dad told me, you got to go see Frank. Like, this guy's like amazing. My dad's originally born and raised in Middletown, and my dad goes, this guy Frank is really, really amazing. I hear good things about him. So I went to go see him, and he looked at my shoes, and he goes, well, wrong brand of shoes. Well, he measured my foot first, measured my arch, measured my height of my foot, and did measurements that nobody else has ever measured before. Usually when you go to a store, most people measure your feet one end to the other end, and they come up with a size. They don't come up with a profile, a height. They don't come up with the arch. They don't come up with the ball to heel measurement. And he explained to me, he goes, most shoes are just factory made shoes, but feet aren't factory made. So certain shoes will work better with certain arches, with certain whatever. And sometimes we'll know widths because they'll measure our width. But he goes, the height of your foot is super important too. That depends upon your size. And of course, the way you lace your shoe. So I was buying the wrong brand. That was the last pair of New Balance shoes I've ever had, because I had 2 pairs of New Balance because I bought them on sale. They were Models or something, like $59. So I was like, oh yeah, I like these. They seem to fit. And I bought 2 pairs, and no matter which ones I was using, I was having pains. And so Frank goes, well, New Balance is not, based upon your arch and your profile foot, New Balance is probably the last brand you want to wear. I said, wow, Gene, that's the one brand I've been wearing. So he got me into Asics. He got me to a couple other things. Now I'm a huge Innovate fan. Innovates are on my thing. So I've been buying shoes from Frank for years. Now, if you go buy shoes at a professional running store, at a store like that, you pay full retail. You're going there to talk to an expert. You're going there to get professionally fitted. You do pay full retail. If you go online now, you can go online and find the same shoes at half the price on a closeout on some website, and hopefully they have your size, right? So it's very enticing to do that. I will do that only if an email comes in and it's for the brand I want, and I'll click through and go, oh wow, yeah, I already have that shoe, I'll buy it. Typically, I buy all my shoes from Frank. I bought all of Justin's shoes up until he was a certain age from Frank. Courtney too. All comes from Frank, professionally fitted. Justin, I figured, he's a young athlete, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, running and doing a lot of sports, so he had to have the right shoe on. And I just couldn't trust Dick's or anywhere else to fit him properly. So I had a conversation with Frank in the middle of December, and I said, Frank, I want you to order me 2 pairs of shoes. And I know that Innovate is closed. Innovate, the shoe company, is closed. The U.S. offices are closed for a break for the holidays. They do that every year. And Frank messaged me back. He goes, Marcus, I can't get these shoes for you until after the new year. You're more than welcome to go buy them online somewhere. And I said, nope, Frank, I'm not buying them online anywhere. You're my guy. You are my guy. I buy shoes from you. At least 75% of the shoes I bought, running shoes, since 2000 have been from you. You're my guy. I can wait. I want to support local. I'm happy to pay. Sometimes it's extra, sometimes it's not extra, right? Sometimes if I go to buy them, sometimes if I go to buy shoes, online versus that, sometimes there's no savings. Sometimes, they entice you in with these huge, massive deals. So like, I just found this pair of the Wolverine 1,000-mile boots, came in on an email today. I've wanted the Wolverine 1,000-mile boots for a long time. They used to be $399. I found them at DSW for $299. But I looked at the box in DSW and I'm like, something is wrong with this box. Like, something is wrong. Why is it $100 cheaper than anybody else right now, this Wolverine boot? And I look at it and I said, made in Mexico. When you go onto Wolverine's site, it says made in the USA. I said, and it said exclusively produced for DSW, made in Mexico. I said, here's what they're doing. DSW contracted Wolverine to make them a cheaper shoe across the border, but Wolverine is selling the more expensive shoe, the American-made, American handcrafted one, for $100 more. Well, I never bought the shoes. Today, an email came in, Wolverine 1,000-mile boots, $167, made in the USA. I'm like, bingo, this is what I've been waiting for. Now, Frank doesn't have the Wolverine 1,000-mile boot. I don't think he has it. I've had a conversation with him about it. and I haven't really seen the Wolverine 1,000-mile boot in any stores, but it's this awesome boot looking, this boot that I've been after that's made in the USA. So I was like, this is cool. So $167 versus $399 or even versus $299 at DSW. That might be something I might take advantage of. Totally take advantage of. But typically I am loyal to as many local businesses as I possibly can. And I think it's more important now than ever because, again, like he does not need another $1 billion. So, Michelle, I've been wearing New Balance and my feet hurt really bad in my arches. So this is what I tell everybody, Michelle, go see Frank. Tell Frank I sent you. Everybody who I've sent to Frank has thanked me. They're like, oh my gosh, Marcus, this is amazing. My feet don't hurt, my legs don't hurt. And the way it happens with your feet, and a lot of times you'll have a back pain, a hip pain, it's coming from your feet. If you're a runner or you're doing exercise, your feet expand during the course of a run. And when they expand, if your feet have no room or it's the wrong shoe, that just basically travels up your whole leg and will manifest somewhere else on your leg of where and where the pain is manifesting. But typically it goes back to your shoes. So Michelle, he's on 211 in Middletown. Frank is on 211 in Middletown. He's called Frank. Just Google Frank the Shoe Fitter, Frank the Shoe Fitter Middletown, and you will find him. He does a lot of orthotics, works with insurance. I feel like I'm selling for him. Frank and I have been close for years, and he's helped me a lot with the Oval Run Like the Wind race, because Frank was the one who founded the Middletown, the Orange Classic. So Gina's saying, love Frank. He made me orthotics for my arch. Yeah. So he'll make these. Michelle, if he can't find a shoe for you, he has an option of making like this custom arch for you in your shoe. So he'll mold this around your shoe. So then there's no, there's no guessing games. Now for me, I'm a minimalist. I like no arch, even though my feet have an arch. I like no support and I like no arch when I run. I like to feel the ground. Sometimes if you have too much support, you'll train your body to run the wrong way, walk the wrong way, and over time something could happen where you trained your body to do that wrong. I had a injury. I had plantar fasciitis about 5 years ago, and I ran a marathon with it too. Let me tell you, it sucked. And the natural thing that most people do for plantar fasciitis is go get fitted for an orthotic, get a shoe that fits comfortable for them, right? This and that, take the pressure off. My chiropractor, kinesiologist, who I've been going to since 2000, was at the restaurant. He goes, Marcus, why are you limping? And I said, I have plantar fasciitis. So he goes, pop your arm up, and this and that, and it goes through, and within 2 minutes, he goes, your weight-bearing bone is out. Did you have a fall or something? Your weight-bearing bone is out, which is causing additional stress, which is causing inflammation, which is causing plantar fasciitis. And he, took my foot and moved it around, and it's like, oh. He said, come to my office on Monday, and we'll get you set up. So I went on Monday, did some more adjustments, and I was 80% better walking out of his office and walking in his office, and it was because my weight-bearing bone was out. But if I would have gone to get inserts, if I would have found a shoe, I would have permanently adjusted my stride, my stance, my strike when I run, and my body would have falsely adapted to this injury. And then that could have done more damage along the road. No pun intended, along the road it could have done some more damage. So my chiropractor, kinesiologist, he taught me he taught me how to muscle test myself when I go to buy shoes to make sure the shoes are proper for me. So if you have a kinesiologist and you're having aches and pains, you can literally take your shoes to your kinesiologist. I've done this with 2 different kinesiologists, and try your shoes on, and they'll muscle test you and tell you that, hey, these shoes aren't good for your body. Your body just does not react good to these. So when I go shoe shopping, I put my arms out like this, and Jamie will try to push down while she's holding in the middle of my back at a certain point while the shoes are on. If I can hold my muscles strong without altering any part of my body, like without compensating, if I can hold strong at that certain point in my back and her pushing down, the shoe's good. If I can't hold strong, I have to compensate other muscles to hold then I know, then I avoid that shoe. And that's been working for me for about a decade. I've been doing that trick for about a decade. And it's basic kinesiology. If you have a good kinesiologist, they can show you how to do that when you go to the store to buy shoes. So, hope that helps. I know we're talking a lot of different tangents here this morning. She'll be being a P, you need good sneakers. Yeah, go see Frank. It's in front of, my cousin Gina's saying, it's in front of Aldi's in Middletown. So that's a good point. Susan's saying, we love Frank. Yeah, Frank knows what he's doing. Frank held the record for 40 something years running coast to coast, running California to New York, coast to coast. 40 years he held that record. It was 46 days or something he ran cross country. Some days he was running 80 miles a day. So if anybody knows feet and running, it would be Frank. Frank did the trip in 79, and then he set the record in 80 and held it till literally just held the record until about 5 years ago. About 5 years ago, somebody actually broke the record, but he held it for 40 years. So close to 40 years. So Frank knows feet. He has millions and millions of steps of research, as he likes to say. So, all right, folks. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it. Jamie and I really appreciate your business. I try to always add some value to these Facebook Lives instead of just getting up here and trying to sell you something or tell you a story, make you laugh, or show you sometimes some of the stuff that we go through in the restaurant industry. And that's it, folks. Got to go. Got to get for my run, and then got to do a few things. Busy day today. Talk to everybody later. Have an amazing day, and hope to see you soon.